I'm going to start by getting another voice in to really brainstorm the possible steps that need to be taken or that can be taken towards capital account convertibility, and whether we need to be easier in general in the entire question of foreign exchange. Who better to talk to than Rama Subramaniam Gandhi, who's the former Deputy Governor of the Reserve Bank of India, who's looked very closely at currency management and is the right person, therefore, to give his views. Now, Mr. Gandhi, thank you so much for joining us. The subject of rules and regulation, LRS, has been something that's, of course, been discussed in the last couple of weeks. So, Mr. Gandhi, is there a view that as we're moving towards becoming a more developed economy with plentiful foreign exchange reserves, is this the right time to start getting a roadmap for foreign exchange, more freedom there, perhaps even capital account convertibility?
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to share some little thoughts on the issue. First of all, the conservation of foreign exchange was an objective under FERA, not under FEMA. Under FEMA, that approach has completely changed. It is not conservation of foreign exchange, rather facilitating foreign exchange transaction by residents and non-residents in a much more comfortable or easier way. That's why when the FEMA came, that was a very big shift between FERA and FEMA. So over this 20 years, 23 years since FEMA has come into being, consistently, Reserve Bank and along with the government has taken the stance that we will be going more and more into easing the foreign exchange operations to be carried out by the citizens. But it won't be fully completely left to the market and citizens. There's a full convertibility is a process. Someday we may reach, but every step will be closer to that. But at any point in time, so far, we have not yet come to that conclusion that we are fully ready for it.
You know, sir, you're right in saying that FEMA is more about management. It's not entirely about restrictions as well. But some of the things that we are seeing, like this entire debate over LRS is a limit. You can only send $250,000 in a certain year. And there could be restrictions in other areas, whether it comes to ODI or other such changes. Now, as we move forward towards more and more liberalization and potential convertibility, do you think that even these restrictions should be progressively, systematically, in a phased manner, eased, liberalized?
Some 6 months before, Deputy Governor Ravi Shankar has mentioned that India is now maybe ready for further relaxation relating to all these parameters, including internationalization of the rupee. So that way, it's time to do that. Yes, individually, the $250,000 which we have fixed, it is quite some time before, almost I would think that it is about 10 years, near about that. So obviously that ceiling can certainly be revisited, given the position that aspirations of the Indian citizens, because we have now have more disposable income, that would mean that we have more savings. So the savings, one would want to have investment, a dispersed way of investing, not only within India, and opportunities that is available elsewhere also should be made available for Indian citizens. So that way, the LRS, by the way, it is meant for, primarily meant for current account transaction. It was not, it should not be seen as that is meant for capital account related. It is permitted under that, but by definitely an investment orientation that by Indian citizens to invest, facilitate their investment abroad, that could be a separate ceiling, or the current ceiling of 250 and LRS could be enhanced to facilitate that. I agree with that, we should be thinking in those terms.
So, sir, when you're looking at this from the point of view of the Reserve Bank of India and the fact that this should be a phased process, or it should be controlled in some way, what is the rationale in 2023 because of all of these controls? India obviously has a fair amount of foreign exchange. So is this essentially to make sure there's no hot money flows, there's no destabilization as problems happen in the global economy? Those external factors should not cause disruption in India. Is that essentially the reason why we do have these controls in the first place today?
Right. If you recall, Tarapur committee, both in number 1 and number 2 committees have consistently recommended, there are certain preconditions before we think about relaxing further. One is inflation control, that it starts from there. Then the government fiscal deficit situation, then the banking sector health, the asset quality, and so these three are some of the common expectations that we should be comfortable around these parameters before we think about opening up more. Today, touch wood, we have reached that kind of stage. Inflation, because of the inflation targeting MPC, it is more or less we are able to bring it to single digit and low single digit kind of situation. So inflation, fairly we can believe that it is manageable. Then the government fiscal deficit also, thanks to last 2-3 years of consistent enhancement in the tax collections and the administration, the government was able to keep it within the targets which they have announced around the budget time, and going forward also further consolidation is expected. So reasonably, that also we can believe that we are in a pretty good situation. CAD, of course, that is always the issue because we are yet to really have a leapfrog in export earnings. Now, that's what we would ultimately want to have export surplus. That we have not yet reached. That would still remain a negative proposition. And thanks also to our dependency on oil. So CAD perhaps will still remain an area where we have not yet reached the desired position.
All right, Mr. Gandhi, thank you so much for joining us with that perspective. Thank you so much.